Welcome to the Ultrahuman experience. This session is free for you for the complete experience. Please download the Ultrahuman app.
Nothing gives Kyra pleasure like being around food. To feel the crackle of a crust of bread as she cuts into it. To rhythmically beat a bowl of cream into perfect, frothy peaks. To drop a handful of mustard seeds into hot oil and hear them begin to sear as the warm, peppery fragrance fills her nose. To place a slice of meat on a hot pan and grill it to a perfect brown. She is happiest when she is surrounded by the sights, sounds, and smells of cooking. Hi, my name is Tanya Kuruvilla, and tonight let's learn the meditative art of cooking with Kyra. They say that food is the fastest way to the heart. Kyra has always believed this to be an absolute truth. And this truth has driven her to become one of the top chefs in London. Because the United Kingdom had colonized many countries over the centuries, it has a diverse culinary culture and is accepting of new and varied cuisines. For Kyra, cooking is more than just a process. It is therapeutic, almost meditative. Today, she is cooking with just 3 main ingredients: chicken, asparagus, and broccoli. She will be stripping these ingredients down to create a dish that's minimalist and relies heavily on the freshness of the ingredients. It is a lazy Tuesday afternoon. Kyra cooks in a large, open kitchen. Huge white French windows let in large amounts of light into her house. It has red brick walls, complemented by dark hardwood floors. Her dining table is an upright whiskey barrel. The green from her herb garden acts as a fragrant patch of freshness. Kyra keeps the kitchen window open so that the cool air from outside skims over the curves of her face. A delightful contrast to the heat emanating from the stoves. The kitchen is filled with the smell of fresh rosemary and sage. Kyra begins peeling a few cloves of garlic. Bits of the peel stick to her fingertips, but she's good at this and peels around 10 cloves in just about a minute. She puts the cloves aside. She then takes a large bowl and washes the chicken breasts. The cold water and the smooth, plump texture of the chicken both feel great in her hands. She begins pounding the chicken breast with a meat hammer till it is tender, juicy, and soft. She then sprinkles some salt over it. Kyra never uses a spoon for salt, a rookie mistake according to her. When she uses her fingers, she can feel each grain of salt, and so she is able to calculate exactly how much she is seasoning the meat. Today, she adds just enough so that the chicken starts sweating. She then pats down the chicken breast on both sides with the salt and then reaches for the pepper mill. The sound of the crushing of the peppercorns is soothing and rhythmic and invokes a feeling of warmth and peace within Kyra. Once she crushes the pepper on the chicken, she reaches for the door of her refrigerator. As the fridge opens, chilled air wafts into the kitchen. She bends down and sees what she's looking for: a large yellow Greek lemon lurking at the bottom of her refrigerator. Kyra takes out the lemon and cuts it into 2 halves. As the knife slices through the soft inner pulp of the lemon, Kyra inhales the fresh smell of the citric fruit. It's sweet and mouth-wateringly tangy. With the tip of the knife, she picks out the seeds of the lemon and squeezes 1/2 over the chicken. The drops drizzle over the tender breast, mixing with the salt and pepper to release a rich, zesty aroma. She puts the other half of the lemon aside. To this marinade, Kyra adds 2 spoons of Greek yogurt. It is the creamiest, spongiest yogurt with the texture of a giant white cloud floating across a turquoise sky. Kyra puts 2 tablespoons of this magical yogurt into the bowl. She then brings out her mortar and pestle, which are made of black marble with a smooth finish. They are cold and heavy and fit neatly in the palm of her hand. She drops a few garlic cloves into the mortar, then takes out a ginger root that she skins with a small blade. As she slices, she feels tiny sprays of ginger juice against her fingers. She cuts several thin slices of the root and places them into the pestle with the garlic cloves. Next, Kyra slices some red jalapeno peppers. Tangy, spicy, and slightly sweet. She throws the slices into the pestle with the other herbs. Pounding rhythmically, she begins blending the 3 different spices into one fine, homogeneous paste. She takes some of this paste onto her fingertip and tastes it. It is spicy, garlicky, gingery deliciousness. The tip of her tongue tingles with the sweetness of the ginger, and the back of it burns gently from the jalapeno. It is full, intricate flavor. While it marinates, Kyra turns the stove on. She watches the blue strands of fire, tipped with magnificent orange, flicker and dance. She loses herself in the sight of the flames, flickering and dancing, finding it relaxes her. There is something mesmerizing about the way they move from side to side, as if being hit by tiny gusts of wind. Kyra then places a big iron skillet over the fire. Within a minute or so, the entire pan is radiating heat. Into this, Kyra drizzles a few drops of olive oil. The aroma of the hot oil enfolds the room as soon as the oil hits the pan. Before the oil heats up anymore, Kyra throws in some crushed cloves of garlic. The intense aroma of frying garlic rises up from the pan. The fragrance seeps into her. It tingles her taste buds, and Kyra starts to salivate. As the crushed pods begin to turn brown, Kyra adds in stems of asparagus. They meet the hot oil with a sizzling sound and continue to sizzle for a few more seconds before calming down. The pale green vegetable turns a pastel shade of green just seconds after the heat begins cooking it. She sautés the asparagus for a few more seconds before adding the sliced broccoli. The stems sink into the mixture and bathe in the glistening oils of the pan. As the pieces of broccoli are glazed with flavor, Kyra takes the chicken out from the fridge. Once the vegetables have softened but still retain some crunch, she sprinkles a pinch of salt over them, with her fingers of course, and tosses the pan a few more times before putting the vegetables on a plate. The pan is now hot and ready for the chicken. After drizzling the pan with a few more drops of olive oil, she puts the chicken in. The sound is hypnotic, like heavy rainfall on a soft, muddy surface. The sizzle drizzle goes on for a while, and white smoke begins to stream out from the bottom of the pan. Kyra carefully watches the chicken as it turns from a pale pink to white to brown. A few minutes in, and she flips it over. Once again, the sound of rain all around her transports her for a few moments to a faraway land, a place of comfort and familiarity, where time flows gently and each moment is wonderful. Here, worries melt away, almost as if they never existed. A bubble of her own, where she can savor every moment. The air here is filled with enticing aromas of food, so rich that one whiff is enough for her to know what was being cooked. The sound of the sizzling pan brings Kyra back from her daydream. The meat is done. She plates it next to the asparagus and broccoli. She takes the food with her to the dining table and sits down with her glass of wine. She eats in silence, savoring the flavors and textures of her meal. But as she chews, her thoughts begin to drift away to a place filled with the sound of laughter, a place that is cozy and warm, as safe and stable as the ground itself, a place filled with the friendly, comforting faces of family and friends. Kyra longs for home. It has been years since Kyra was with her loved ones. She deeply misses seeing the faces of her family members as they retell the same old few stories and laugh at the same old jokes. As she bites into the chicken, Kyra makes a plan to go back home soon and return with a new set of memories, friendships, and, of course, recipes. But even as she imagines it, her surroundings transform magically. The greyness of urban London around her dissolves and is slowly replaced by the bright pastel shades of rural Punjab, where Kyra grew up. The sky is a rich shade of blue, and the green pastures stretch out till the horizon. Kyra has always loved cooking with her family and friends, and that's exactly what she is about to do now, surrounded by her loved ones. Kids are flying bright yellow kites that dance across the romantic blue skies. The women have gathered around a cot, playing cards and laughing. The men are sitting in the shade of a huge tree and take turns smoking an old hookah. Kyra and a few of her friends begin walking to her favorite spot, where she used to cook for the entire village. It is on a small hillock which is behind the village and overlooks it. It is the perfect spot to gather with loved ones and feast on delicious food. Kyra and her friends begin their journey from the heart of the village. There's a single pathway that leads to the hillock, which is a large, single rock that has a gradual slope. Kyra and her troop climb it easily. It is a bright, pleasant day. There is warmth from the sun overhead and from the stone below their feet, which is balanced by the cool breeze blowing against their faces. At first, the rock hillock is barren, but as they climb higher, they find wild grass, yellow, dry, and soft, scattered across muddy patches in the rock. The blades of green grass are tall, almost 2 feet in height, and they dance in the sunlight. Kyra loves brushing her hands over the tops of the blades of grass as she walks past them. They gently tickle the palm of her hands and her fingertips. Kyra is delighted to be basking in the sunlight of her hometown. There is a lone banyan tree on top of the hillock. As it comes into view, they feel almost as if it was waiting for them. It is picture perfect. A thick, lush green tree set against the backdrop of a light blue sky. Kyra and her friends walk to the tree and sit on the ground in its shade. Some lean against the trunk, some squat, some just sit cross-legged on the ground. It is blissfully cool, almost as if the air is being chilled by an outdoor air conditioner. After resting for some time, they get up and pick the 2 spots where they will build their stoves. They are both near the tree, but some distance away from the trunk, in a clearer patch of ground. Before they begin cooking, they must pray to the god of food. The way they do this is by spilling some clarified butter on the ground. It forms an aromatic paste with the dirt. Over this they lay bright red wood-burnt bricks to form a kiln. The first kiln is lit. The wood crackles loudly as it burns, and the sound is carried all around them by the wind. A huge earthen pot is placed over one of the fires. The pot is big and grey and has many years of community cookouts with happy families. First, Kyra pours many liters of vegetable oil into the pot. The oil begins to heat, and Kyra empties a fistful of mustard seeds into it. Within seconds, the seeds begin to sputter. They sound like a thunderstorm stuck inside a delicious-smelling cooking pot. On the side, 3 of Kyra's friends are chopping onions in a synchronized, rhythmic way. The sound of the knives hitting the board is like the sound of wild horses running free in a big, open field. Once a few kilograms of onions have been chopped finely, they are dropped into the hot oil and mustard seed mixture. The onions sizzle as they begin frying. The aroma of mustard and frying onions fill the air around them. Kyra then takes a fistful of sea salt and begins letting it slip through her fingers into the pot. She can feel each granule of salt as it brushes against her skin and falls into the onions, which gradually take on a dense, pasty texture. She gently stirs with her other hand, using a huge wooden ladle. Kyra then goes to another big vessel. In it are pieces of chicken that have been marinating in curd, ginger, garlic, chili paste, and lime juice. The tartness of the marinade hits her nose as she lifts the lid of the vessel. With the help of her friend, they carry this to the huge earthen pot that's heating the onions and dump the tender, juicy pieces of meat into it. The onions stop spluttering. Now, all she can hear are the pieces of wood crackling in the fire that is cooking the tender chicken. After the chicken is in, she adds a few bottles of fresh river water that glints silver in the light of the midday sun. She covers the top of this vessel with a big steel plate. She now moves on from the entree. Kyra's friends, who were first responsible for the onions, are now grating carrots in the same spot using large, foot-long graters. There is a pile of juicy red carrots in front of them. They grate with a pleasing, steady rhythm, and fine slivers of carrots pile up in a vessel below. They are so sweet that you could eat them up just as they are. But Kyra has other plans. Another big earthen pot is placed on a second kiln. In the pot, Kyra adds many liters of full fat milk and lets it boil. She occasionally dips a ladle in and gives it a stir. Kyra then takes a few minutes to watch the sun slowly slide across the beautiful blue dome of the sky over them. The lone tree on the hill gives them all the shade they need to sit, read, take a nap, or just stare into space. A cool breeze, which carries with it the smell of flowers, blows across the hill. The milk has halved now and is thicker, more vicious. To this, Kyra adds a few bowls of sugar and begins stirring the mix. She then adds the grated carrots. The ingredients all begin cooking together and gradually fuse into one delicious paste. The fire is about to die out by this time, and Kyra lets it go. It is almost time for the sun to set. A golden hue is painted across the sky. The air gets colder, but Kyra and her friends have the heat from the coals in the kiln to keep them warm within a blanket of happiness. A bouquet of aromas surrounds them. Now, people began walking up from the village to the hill in 2s and 3s, and some in larger groups. As they reach, everyone gathers around the tree. Those who arrive place lanterns made of candles at different points in the clearing, lending the scene a gentle glow. A happy murmur begins to build around the pots of food. There are warm smiles on everyone's faces. It is now dark, and the stars begin to shine across the navy blue sky. Soon, a large group is gathered. People begin to line up with plates, and Kyra and friends ladle out portions of food for them. There are now people spread out everywhere, not just under the tree. Children run across the hillock, chasing each other. Elders hunch over hookah pots, puffing away cloudy rings of smoke. Others sit around on straw mats with their families. The one thing that everyone has in common is that they're all eating Kyra's delicious food. From the hillock, they can see the outlines of huts in the village below, with dim lights in the courtyards. There are more stars in the sky than Kyra can count. And yet, the most mesmerizing thing to her are the people coming in for second and third servings of her food. Kyra is surrounded by laughter, by friends, by love, and of course, by delicious food. That night, when Kyra is in bed, she is relaxed, happy, and joyous. She feels weightless, as if she is floating in the middle of the biggest, calmest lake. Her eyes feel heavy. All her muscles are relaxed as she sinks into the mattress. She is able to feel every inch of her being. There is calm everywhere as she slowly drifts into the deepest sleep she has ever known. Good night and sweet dreams.